How you doing, everyone? I hope you're well. I thought I'd give a quick story of where I've come from, story of Purvida, story of what brought me to today, speaking about senior health. So let's rewind 8-9 years. I first started as a trainer in London at a health club called Virgin Active in Moorgate. So let's backtrack a little bit. Before that, you have to get qualifications to be a trainer. So whilst I was in Cornwall after Australia, I had no idea. Actually, that's a lie. In Australia, this is where the first idea of getting into the health space came from. I was training in a fitness first there, and I was looking at the trainers, and I was like, that looks really fun. You get to be physically active, and you get to help someone. So that was the first little thought, if you will. So anyway, that was a year prior to getting the qualifications. But that was the first little, you know when you get a thought or something happens in your life and you're like, that's where it all began. So I guess that's where it all began. So anyway, got the qualifications, traveled up to London for about a year to do them. And then I was back in Cornwall as that transition of, where do I work? Do I stay in Cornwall or do I go to London? In the end, I picked London, and straight away I threw myself in the deep end. In London, you got obviously the city of London, and right in the middle, where like the financial district is, Bank of England, lots of law firms, startup companies in Moorgate. So coming from Cornwall, which is very small and relaxed surfing town, or St Ives in Cornwall, and then I went straight to City of London, polar opposites. So I threw myself in the deep end, and I always remember my first day as a trainer, walked up to the gym floor, so you got these steps leading up to the gym floor, and then just looked around and thought, okay, where do we even start? How do I get a client? And I always remember my first ever client, my first ever person I spoke to. I walked around the treadmills, so at the treadmills at the back, imagine they're this way. I walked around, line of treadmills at the very end, David Kane, the first person I ever spoke to on the gym floor. And I didn't even sell to him, I just wanted to get to know him. How's your training? I think we ended up speaking about football. I'm not really into football either, so it worked out well. I think he called up later that day and asked if I was a coach. So it all worked out there. Then in the first month, I think I got about 12 clients. Because you go in with no clients, you have to build up your reputation, etc. So the first month went super well. And then, to be honest, sorry mate, arms getting a bit tired, I need to swap arms. Then, to be honest, that's where the real growth has happened, that first month. To be honest, the first year, because I'd never coached anyone. I was fresh in the game. I didn't know about programming. I didn't know about injuries. All I knew was, let's have a good training session. And to be honest, I think the first 3 to 6 months, because I was really passionate and really energetic, I don't know how I got the results I did, but I think it's because of my love for it and my passion for it. So anyway, that first year, honestly, the things I know now, a lot of it comes from that first year, because you're learning about mistakes. You're learning about how a client moves. You're learning about, oh, someone's really stressed. They're bringing that into the gym. I probably shouldn't then throw big weights on their back because that's more stress. Therefore, it could injure them. I had to learn, doing core exercises before a big deadlift, that doesn't work because you're going to spend someone's core, they can bust their lower back. You really need to learn about knee pain and low back pain and shoulder pain because you're limited to how far you can go with the client. You see what I mean here. So that first year, incredible learning experience. And it wasn't from a book. I was doing some really intense courses as well, because the PT qualification is pretty simple. And you don't really learn too much. Oh, amazing butterfly. You don't really learn too much. So I had to do real intensive 5-day courses about corrective exercise. Off my own back, I just really wanted to learn more. Anyway, where was I going with that? I forgot where I was going. I can't remember. But anyway, that first year, lots of learning. That's what I was saying. It's not from a textbook. I wasn't just reading about it. I was working with people, and that's the huge thing. That experience working in person with people, I wouldn't know what I know today. So that first year, Really amazing. Let's fast forward a bit. I think by the end of the first year, I was coaching about 30 to 40 people a week. And I was taking 3 classes. So Monday morning, Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning. And this was when I really learned about exercise has to be very specific for people, because people were coming in and I was given general exercises. I'm sure you've been to a class before, general movements, and a lot of people were asking for options. Oh, my knee here, my shoulder, my low back, I can't do this movement. So it's the first time I really had to think, okay, exercise isn't a one size fit all here. So I had to learn about different exercises, had to learn about options. Again, learning about how people move, learning about people's pain points, learning about people's injuries. And this was the first time I started working with a lot more seniors. A lot more seniors started coming to my classes. And then my client base, about 2 to 3 years in, was a lot of people in their 50s, their 60s, 70s, even had people into their 80s. And this is where I really had to go from intense Josh, giving someone the most intense session I could, to learning that that's not the way forward. It's about meeting someone where they're at. It's about learning what your client needs. It's about understanding the mechanics of their pain, understanding that intensity and throwing as much weight and being as crazy as you possibly can be isn't the sign of a good session. It's actually someone leaving feeling like they've personally progressed. And this is a lot where the fitness industry goes wrong, if you will, is because we think we have to be intense, we think we have to do all of these complex movement patterns, but really people can get really far with simplicity and subtle and non-intense exercises. I'm going to swap around. Still challenging though. Anyway, I'm weaving a bit here. But anyway, that was when I first started learning about senior health. And then within that time frame, I was doing some public speaking in London at different companies that was centered around stress management, because I love anything on the mind and neurobiology and neuroscience. I mean, I'm not an amazing expert at it, but I love to learn, because the mind is no separate from the body. So I had to learn about client stresses, clients' pain outside of sessions, because then I had to design sessions based on where their life was at. You know, I didn't want to know all of the ins and outs, keep things personal for people, but if someone was going through a big life stressor, if someone was going through a divorce, if someone had someone die in the family, and I didn't take that into account, and then I'm, speaking about, hey, could you do this 4 times this week before I see you next? It's too overwhelming. So you had to learn about where people's stresses and everything was. So I was learning lots of work by Gabor Mate at that point, an amazing guy. And I was doing lots of public speaking around London to essentially help companies reduce the stress for their employees. So that was a really cool time. And then swap my arms again, about 2 years in, hopefully you're still with me, I'm trying to get this in quick. About 2 years after that, I then started working in a physio clinic, in addition to the health club I was still at. This was where I really expanded my knowledge on pain, learning more, getting to root causes. Now I was dealing with very much in fact, all pain, knee pain, low back pain, shoulder pain, accidents. So it wasn't just a case of, let's just put a program together. It was actually, okay, what's causing this pain? And that's where my knowledge really started to go deeper and started doing more courses, which is why, as you can tell, I post a lot of specific exercises for specific purposes and specific pain. And that's because that's what I was doing. I had people who were struggling to get up the stairs because of their knee pain. So I had to find out exercises and learn about what was causing that, why that was happening. Cool. And then I just learned so much of, 1, people's struggles, but 2, how to design corrective movement to help with those struggles, to help with those daily tasks, to get people out of pain. So you'll see that in my content a lot, is I post about, hey, do you need help to get up the stairs? Cool, here's a few exercises to try. That line of thinking. And then of course COVID hit, so everything went online. I went back down to Cornwall, which was pretty cool, to be honest. I was back home, back by the ocean, and then I had to get online. It was kind of forced. You know when you're forced to do something, and at the start you're like, oh no, but in the end COVID wasn't a good time, but it was a blessing in a sense that I was forced to go online. So then I was thinking, how do I put everything I know into one place? I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. And I remember just sitting at my parents' kitchen table with big A3 pieces of paper and just scanning or popping down, like, how do I make this happen? And in my mind, I was just telling myself, it doesn't have to be anything business or company related. Just start putting content out there. Because at that point, I hadn't really been putting anything out. And I think I made my first piece of content 4 or 5 years ago. And for 2 years, I just posted content. I didn't have a business. It wasn't under Purvida. I think it was just Josh Trevorrow. And that was cool because it felt like a weight had come off me, because I love sharing, but I never shared online. So you have to go through that resistance of, what are people going to think? Yeah, maybe you're going to get this wrong. You're going to get a lot of hate. But once I did one, I was like, yeah, I don't care about that. So that was the start of the content journey. And 2 years in, I then started the subscription model for Purvida Plus, or for Purvida. And I always remember coming up with the name Purvida. Someone signed an email off that said Purvida. And Purvida in Costa Rica means simple life, or they greet each other. Hey, how you doing? Purvida. And I thought, that's a really cool name. So I just left off the A, because there's so many brands with Purvida. So that was the start of Purvida. So 2 years in, just posted content, had no traction, but that was cool. I knew it was a long game. I just loved sharing, even if I was helping one person. It really didn't matter to me. And then 2 years started the subscription. That's where I was. Everything I learned, now in one place. And at the start, it wasn't centered around seniors, even though that was where my background was. It was just posting content, kind of general. You know, if people needed help with their movement, nutrition, mind, they'd come in and delve into my programs on there. And then I tell you what, it was a big changing point in the trajectory. Kind of a reminder of my background and who I'd been working with. I posted a piece of content. It was the first content that ever had virality or went viral. And it was me explaining, if you struggle getting off a chair, do this. If you struggle getting up from the floor, do this. If you struggle getting in a car, do this, etc. And that just took off. And it just clicked in my brain. Josh, that's your background. How come it's taken you, sorry, someone's about to run me over. How come it's taken you 2-3 years to remember that? Before I was just posting, hey, here's some hip work, or hey, do this, whatever. And it was just a reminder, Josh, that's literally what you've been helping people do for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So from that one piece of content, like I said, it reminded me, actually, this is who I want to help. Seniors, helping with daily tasks. And then I'll tell you what, something's really cool, which I must thank you for, is you told me what Purvida was doing for you. And the biggest word that was coming out of you, everyone, was hope. So I was starting to post content, I was getting more traction, which felt really cool. Posted every day for 4 years, didn't really get anything, and then it kind of kicked off. And a lot of you were saying, you've given me hope again. You've given me hope with my movement. You've given me hope again that I can keep doing the things that I love. You've given me hope that I have the energy to play with my grandchildren. And that word kept coming up, and I was like, I feel like that's the mission, to give you hope again, to restore your life, to restore your health, to restore the love for life, and let you know that the later years, these could be, and I will say it, these are going to be the best years, through good movement, through rest, through right nutrition, through good mindset, through the teachings that I teach. Hopefully they're helping to give you hope again, and to essentially give you back, that doesn't sound right, to guide you for these next years ahead of you to be the best, physically and mentally. And here we're at. It's grown a lot, and I only know and have the experience, the knowledge, the audacity, if you will, to share what I know, because I spent 8 to 9 years previous with clients, with people like yourself. If I just read it from a book, if I just went straight to an online coach, I'd have no clue. I'd be making it up. But everything I teach, yes, is based off my 5-day intensive courses where I'd go into like Lancashire and even San Diego and learn in depth and do inclinometer measurements of people's pelvic tilt and their shoulder girdle and their forward head posture, and used to measure and then design exercises based off someone's anatomy and physiology, essentially. But anyway, in addition to that, hands-on experience, making lots of mistakes, getting my clients to let me know what was working, what wasn't. So it was only through that experience, many hours on the gym floor, many hours in the physio clinic, many hours learning, that's brought me to here today. So that's my background over the last 8-9 years. I hope that was cool. I think it was about time that I did a little intro video of everything that I've done to get me here, and I just really appreciate your support. I hope the posts are helping. Love you all. Time to get a coffee. I'm gonna head to the gym now. I'll catch you soon. Let me know if you've got any questions either. Always open to hearing from you.